I'm Christina Mueller, and I'm here today with Preeti Mistry, who is currently at Silver Oak Winery. And I was super excited. I recently went to visit the winery. There was a special dinner in November, and I was super impressed with the meal you put on there. But before we get into the meal, I really wanted to just talk a little bit about your background. I know a zillion years ago you did something very big on TV, but more recently, you did a really amazing restaurant in the East Bay here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Juhu Beach Club. We started as a pop-up in a liquor store in 2013, and then we opened the brick and mortar. Oh, I'm sorry, in 2011, and then the brick and mortar in Oakland in 2013. It was a fun run. We had a lot of great folks come through. Most remarkably, a fun thing I did on TV, way more fun than that other one, was be on Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
yeah, so Tony came to the restaurant. You can watch the episode at the Bay Area episode of Parts Unknown. And we also had the late, great Jonathan Gold,
May he
among
rest
some
in peace.
other awesome people I like to point out.
Yeah.
Um, and, the restaurant also had two James Beard nominations while I was there. So for Best Chef of the West
And
Coast.
what would you say you were
Um,
known for at Juhu Beach Club? Like, did you have a certain style that you were developing there, or was it something?
yeah, I went to culinary school because I wanted to learn how to cook professionally.
Mhm.
But I had a desire to cook Indian cuisine because, like, growing up, I just felt like all people know about Indian cuisine is naan and curry, and naan and curry is delicious, but there's like all this other stuff. Like, I never ate chicken tikka masala other than when I went to a restaurant.
Yeah.
Um, so I felt like there's all this Indian food that I grew up eating that no, like, people in the United States don't really know about.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to like bring a lot of those things forward so people could taste different things. And the one major focus I had at the beginning was street food. It was, this was 2010, 2011. It was like the food truck craze was happening. It was like every chef was opening a food truck. Um, the recession, all those things. And I wanted to be a part of all that. Pop-ups also were like the big thing.
Yeah.
And so street food was the sort of original kind of through line that I had with the cuisine. So we had a lot of sliders, some that are like iconically known in India, like the vada pav. And then I kind of took that idea and did a lot of other ones. But the food kind of evolved over time.
Mhm.
I had this idea that it was going to be because in the liquor store it was just sandwiches and a few like a mango lassi and a samosa and whatever. And then I thought that the restaurant would just be like a grown-up version of that with a few more bells and whistles and beer and wine. Um, but it's not, we responded to the environment and the customers. And what we found is that at that time, back in 2013, so 12 years ago, there were not a lot of Indian restaurants
Yeah.
where the chef was like readily available to talk to, was using a lot of farm fresh seasonal ingredients and changing the menu seasonally. And
Mhm.
so what we found is that I was thinking somehow the restaurant was going to be like more like casual. Maybe we'd do another one or a couple multi-unit like sliders and masala fries and whatever. But it ended up getting a lot more serious because that's what we felt the customers were responding to. And so I really went deeper on, whether it was about our sourcing or the types of dishes we were making. By the end, we were making like a biryani for three with a in-house puff pastry top and all the things. And, just a lot of things that like when we first started, there's no way we could have done because we were just slowly evolving.
Yeah.
For me, it was like a really growing experience where I was able to like build my cuisine and repertoire as it came to Indian cuisine, and then just overall as a chef.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience, and I think the pandemic, we closed right before the pandemic, thinking that we were going to open a bigger one, but then everything kind of changed in a way where it was like, okay, I think we're moving on.
Yeah. And of course, then the industry changed too. Like around the Bay
Yes.
Area now, I mean, you can throw a rock and hit an Indian restaurant that's doing, regional, seasonal food. So The whole
Yeah, I
industry
mean,
has shifted.
times have really changed. I would say definitely myself, being one of the Indian American chefs who kind of pushed things to a different level. I feel like when I first started and was researching other people that might be doing things, it was like, I'd be like, oh, this chef looks like they're doing something interesting. And I'd be like, oh, just like two kind of slightly different starters. And then the rest of the menu was still just like chicken tikka masala and saag paneer or whatever. And I was like, but now, yeah, whether it's in the Bay Area or the country at large, there's just a lot of chefs. A lot of them are my friends, of South Asian background, just doing a lot of fun, different, inventive, seasonal things with Indian cuisine.
Yeah. So take us from there
Yeah.
to, well, first of all, I think we have to pass through your very own podcast, which just won a James Beard Award. So we
Yes,
have
it
to give a
did.
little round of
Thank
applause for
you.
your work there. So let's pass through the podcast before we get into Silver Oak and tell the my audience about your podcast and what you're up to on your own podcast.
Yeah, so when the pandemic began, I was living up in Guerneville, which is up in the Russian River. We had a little tiny cabin up there, and so we went up there, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to be doing. I'd been doing restaurant consulting, but all of that stopped because restaurants were not, the restaurant I was working on, it was not going to open, because, you know,
As the show
and so
happens.
in addition to working on a farm up in Sonoma County, in the summer of 2020, I just started thinking more and more about how I wanted to do a podcast. And it was something I had thought about before the pandemic, and then the timing was such that, and I just, I got a lot to say, and I have a lot of opinions, and I just thought, like, this feels like something that makes sense for me. Like, I don't feel like it wouldn't be that hard for me to do this. Like, I can talk.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people want to hear what I have to say. Like, I would find myself, like, before Twitter, when Twitter was like more relevant, um, a lot of people literally, like, some food news would break, and like I would get messages from people being like, I was waiting to hear what you thought about this.
Mm.
And so I was like, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are interested in my take on
Your
certain,
voice. Yeah.
yeah, things happening within our industry. And there was a lot happening, obviously, with COVID and everything. And I was very vocal about that stuff. So I kind of put it out there, into the universe of like, yeah, I feel like I want to do a podcast. And my co-producers, Copper and Heat, who've also won two James Beard Awards on their own for their podcast, they reached out to me and they were like, were you serious about that when you're saying that on Twitter about wanting to do a podcast? Because we would love to do one with you. Um, and I was like, hell yeah. And, my
Bada bing,
joke
bada
ever
boom.
since then is, which I did say on stage when I won the award, was, if it wasn't for the three of them, Katie, Ricardo, and Rachel, I'd still be talking about how I could really do a great podcast. But because of them, I was able to actually make it happen in
Yeah.
terms of the technical stuff. And Katie is a great co-producer. We talk through guests and questions and how we're gonna do things. And they're great editors, and they've actually become good friends,
Wonderful.
which is fun as well.
Mm.
And it's kind of funny when we were in Chicago. It was the night that we won, and I probably just had this like Cheshire cat grin on my face that I couldn't get off. It was like I've never had this experience before, of like winning an award like that in, all the things. And, there we are, like eating pizza back at the Airbnb at 2 in the morning after going out and celebrating and everything. And and I was, saying this thing to Katie about how I just, I thanked all of them, but her in particular, she was such a big part of the whole thing of what we created together, even though I win the award. And I was feeling kind of, really like, I really appreciate her. And she was like, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be doing a podcast with you and we would win a James Beard Award, I would be like, holy crap. So it's all good, whatever. Like I was just
Everybody
feeling kind
clear
of like, I feel
all the
like I get all
boats.
the attention and you're not getting enough attention. She's like, it's okay.
All
Um,
boats lifted together.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was an amazing experience. Like I said, I was, I
Yeah.
remember right before we flew to Chicago, I was like, I've done a lot of things. Like I've checked a lot of boxes, but I'm like, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Like sitting in an audience, waiting to hear if you're going to win an award. And if you win it, you have to go up and make a speech and all those
Yeah.
things. Like this is
Prepare a
a new one for
speech.
me. And so, but it, obviously the other side of that. I was nervous, and then the other side of it was like, oh my God, this is an amazing feeling. I've never had this feeling before.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
give me advice.
wonderful honor to win a James Beard. It's not very many people can put that on their wall. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And if you could, how did you go then from launching a podcast to, cooking with a Napa winery? I mean, I think
Yeah.
those are, what you were doing before to that they're kind of polar opposites, right?
But I contain multitudes, Christine.
Yes, you do. And I think your food is really refreshing and different. I mean, Napa, I would say, is not known as a culinary hotbed of, incredible Asian flavor. I think that's changing.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
there's some of that happening now,
Yeah.
particularly Yountville and downtown Napa.
Mhm.
But tell us a little bit about how you got to Silver Oak and what you're up to over there.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like at heart, I am a chef. So yes, I happen to be and enjoy doing media. I've co-authored my cookbook.
Yeah.
I've written a lot of articles for magazines and for other people's books. I've been on a few TV shows. And so me and I majored in film in undergrad.
Oh,
Um, so like media has always been an interest of mine.
yeah.
And I do enjoy it. But like my profession, like, the way my dad's like, yeah, I'm retired, but I'm always a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a chef. That is,
That's your
through
core.
and through. I'm not a recipe developer. I'm not a TikTok chef. I'm not a, whatever. I am a chef through and through. I've been doing this for, since went to culinary school in 2002.
Yeah.
Um, and I've run kitchens of various sizes, as well as my own little restaurant. And I've cooked a lot of different cuisines. I started out in London and cooked at Moro, which is a Spanish North African restaurant. I interned at the Claridge's Banqueting Hotel. I worked at a restaurant called the Sugar Club that was kind of a combination of modern European and Asian. The chef was from Australia, so it kind of embodied a lot of
Yeah.
those different things. He had worked for Nobu. Um, and even at, the museums, I was the executive chef of the De Young Museum. Like I was cooking kind of globally, and it has always been interesting to me. Like it's just as interesting to me as like focusing in on Indian cuisine and really like going like deep on that. It's also like I love a lot of different flavors. Like at home, I cook all kinds of different food. I cook Thai, Chinese, Mexican, Italian, etc., Middle Eastern. And so for me, like and when I say being a chef, it's like the profession. And what that means is not what people think about being a chef in terms of like, oh, I get to play with all these fun flavors and whatever. It's like, no, the inventory and the labor cost and the daily cleaning schedule and,
Cleaning the
all
toilet.
of,
Yeah.
right, like all of those things that are a part of like, a lot of people can cook tasty food, but there's also this profession
Yeah.
that requires you to have a lot of different skills across an area.
Being an
Um,
entrepreneur.
right. And people don't necessarily understand that.
Yeah.
So for me, like I had been living up here in the North Bay since 2020.
Hmm.
I did a few projects, consulting with some smaller wineries, and then I was kind of in a place where I was kind of like honestly feeling like I really wanted to go back to cooking full time. I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, if this opportunity hadn't come along, I probably would be trying to open my own place, which
Yeah.
like, ooh, glad I dodged that bullet.
Yeah,
Um,
it never seems to be a good time to open your own restaurant.
you know, it could have led to divorce, possibly. I don't know.
Well, here
We can
you are,
laugh
you
about
made
this now. Uh, but
it.
I had this desire within me of like, I just want to get back in like I was doing a lot of private events for folks up here, more people knowing that I'm up here, asking to do different dinners and birthdays and events and that's fun and everything. But there's always that thing where you meet people around and people are like, but where can we try your food? Or we miss your food. Like, where can we just go and taste your food?
Right.
And so for me, I really was ready for an opportunity like this. And I love wine. I love pairing wine. Uh, I love flavors and like thinking about it on all the different levels. And I love thinking about different flavor combinations
Mhm.
that maybe other people haven't thought of, or to me, a lot of it comes naturally, and that's part of it. Like it's just always been like I always say, like I didn't choose to be a chef, like it chose me. Like, if I could be an accountant, it's a little easier, just
Well,
saying.
yeah.
I mean, there's
So,
a busy time of year, but
so
just
how did you end up? I mean, I don't want to say end up. How did you land at Silver Oak? Like, how did that opportunity come about? And what does it look like? I mean, are you there every day? Are you doing custom dinners? What's the plan?
so a friend referred me,
Hmm.
and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check out this opportunity and see. And I was kind of just like, let me just see. No, there's nothing lost in that. And then I was like, oh, this seems really interesting. And as I went through the process, I mean, the great things about Silver Oak is that they are very thorough, whether it's the wine or hiring and all the things in between. It's a company that takes great care
Yeah.
with everything that they do. And so, the process took, and then, people have vacations and things. So it took about a month and a half of interviewing and this and that. And I have to say, like, through the process, like, I got to this point where I was like, I really want this job. Um, and, I felt like the feeling was mutual, and I was right, through the process as well. I was like, I feel like I got it. I feel like they really like me. But, for me, yes, I am working very full time.
Okay.
Um,
And is it like you have a daily tasting menu, or do people
so
sign up for menus, or is it special events?
it's so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we do a chef's table menu. I just finished right before this call,
Hmm.
and it's a four courses paired with four wines,
Hmm.
and we do a maximum of 12 people,
Hmm.
and people sit communally, which I really love because especially it's like people get to know each other, and it's like a party,
It is. When I
as
visited, the
opposed to.
table was a little bigger, but it was the same idea. You get to talk to a lot of people and meet a lot of interesting people.
Absolutely. I mean, you just had a very giant floral arrangement
Yeah.
in the middle of your table. The table is plenty big.
Yes.
We
And
don't
it's
always do that.
a and it's a four-course tasting menu.
Yeah, so it's four courses,
Yeah.
um, and it's normally all cabs. So Silver Oak and some Timeless. There'll normally be a couple library wines, or at least one library wine, maybe Timeless, which is the blend. And it changes seasonally. And right now we're like actually in the process of R&Ding winter menu.
Yeah,
Um,
so I'd love to talk with you about what's coming up for the winter
mhm.
menu, but one of the things I wanted to dig in on because it made such an impression on me was
Uh-huh.
your seared scallop dish. Um, I was there in November, so
Yep.
your menu will be changing shortly, but as you mentioned, but you served me a vanilla parsnip puree with
Hmm.
Brussels sprout leaves and curry oil, and the
Hmm.
scallop was seared and topped with what I believe was finger lime and tobacco.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
wondering
it.
if
Pretty
you could
simple.
just, very simple, if you could just walk us through the dish. And I don't know if you had an inspiration for the dish, but how you came up with it and why it really resonated.
Yeah, the vanilla parsnip puree is something that I've played with before, and what I love about it is that it's very unexpected.
Mhm.
One story I have is that I once served it for a dinner that was a lot of kind of younger tech startup guys, and I heard one of them saying to the other one as I was, putting the plates down, um, "The mashed potatoes taste like ice cream."
And you're like, uh-uh.
Right. But
Try
it's like,
again.
yeah, the sweetness of the root vegetable, and then when your mouth tastes sweet and it tastes vanilla, you can see how the immediate kind of mental thing is like goes to this sweet place. So that's why I think it's really important to balance the salt in that dish. You don't want it to be salty,
Yeah.
but it should be perfectly seasoned so that you taste the floral notes in the parsnip, you taste the vanilla, but it's still overall the dish is a savory presentation. I mean, scallops are also very sweet.
Yeah. But what I really noticed is you obviously pureed the parsnips. I'm guessing you roasted them before you pureed them because you really coaxed out the sweetness of the parsnip.
No. We
No?
just cook it really slow and low in the cream or the coconut milk
Oh, wow.
with
Okay.
the vanilla. So it just like kind of slowly cooks in there and absorbs all of that. And then the Brussels sprouts with the curry oil. We make all of our masalas or spice blends in house.
Hmm.
We use burlap and barrel spices. And now actually the spices that were in the curry oil are now being sold in our tasting room with burlap and barrel. It's this blend that I just did a collaboration with them called the
Hmm.
dal blend. So the original usage was for like making a dal, so any kind of like lentil or soup, it's soup season.
Yep.
But it also has a really great savory kind of profile that I thought would be great to offset the sweetness
Yep.
and the other components in the dish. So we just steep some oil in that for a couple days and then strain off the spices. And then we just lightly saute the Brussels sprouts in that oil that has all of that curry oil flavor.
Before we get away from the puree, I did want to ask you about the vanilla. First of all, what kind of vanilla do you use? And second of all, how do you make it so that the vanilla doesn't overpower the parsnip?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we use a fresh vanilla pods, Tahitian fresh vanilla pods.
Hmm.
And so you want to cut them open and scrape out the seeds.
Hmm.
And then you put all of that into the liquid. And, it's about balance. I mean, I'm really into balancing things out. But, the vanilla is a very subtle flavor if you're not adding sugar,
Hmm.
which we're not. The
Yeah.
only sweetness is the first parsnip. And so, at the end of the day, vanilla is not like our brains think of it as something you add to sweet food
Yeah.
and that it's sweet. But vanilla itself is just a flavor.
Hmm.
It's not sweet. It's just a certain very particular flavor profile.
Right. It can be assertive though. So I was just
Right.
delighted at how balanced that dish was, that it didn't smack you in the face with vanilla. You just noticed it
Yeah.
and then let it go.
Yeah, and that was the point. I didn't
Yeah.
want it to be so heavy that it, tasted like. I mean, that's the other thing when you're working with things like vanilla or lavender, that people think of as sweet things, you really have to balance it because otherwise, or the joke is like it tastes like face cream or
Right.
something.
Or what did you just say earlier? Mashed potatoes,
It tastes
ice
like ice cream. Yeah,
ice
yeah,
cream mashed
exactly.
potato. That's not what was going on at all. And then you had this beautiful seared scallop.
Uh-huh.
That was simply done from what I could tell, but then the topping of the tobacco and the finger lime, I thought was just took the dish over the edge. It was just that little bit of crunchiness.
Hmm.
It had a savoriness. It added that citrus component. It just brought everything together in a beautiful way.
Yeah, and part of the inspiration is actually that we have a finger lime tree here on the property at Silver Oak, and we also have one up at Alexander Valley.
Huh.
And I love finger limes. My chef friend Leah Skirto over at Pizza Leah is obsessed with finger limes up in Windsor.
I can see
She has
why.
them on a pizza right now, actually. She has them on a pizza with andouille. And it's finger lime season right now as well.
Yeah.
Like this is the season. So it just all kind of like I feel like so much of my cooking is just comes from like what I consider logic. Like other people are like, yeah, I don't think like you. But to me it's just like about a certain logic where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, this and then it's like, oh, this, that. Oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, some of the French chefs I remember learning from back in culinary school where they're like, use logic. Like you're making something with rabbit. The rabbit eats carrots, so serve it with carrots. Like this whole kind of idea.
Right.
Um,
The other dish that I really loved on the tasting menu that I experienced was the mushroom and fennel shiitake caps. There was,
uh-huh.
again, you found that beautiful balance with the black garlic, the miso broth, and the chili crisp, but there was this
Mhm.
definite earthiness from the mushrooms that you knew it was a mushroom dish. So, I mean, I just love the whole.
Well,
the whole
So I
experience.
have to say, so again, you had the gluten-free version. So
Yeah,
the other version, the instead of the caps, it's actually in a wrapper. So it's three dumplings, but you had the filling there.
yeah,
So you had even more mushroom.
yeah,
Um, I have to say when I've been pairing and working with other wineries. I've mostly been working with lighter bodied wines, so sparkling whites, rosés, Pinot Noirs. And when I took this opportunity with Silver Oak, I was definitely like, okay, this is exciting because now I'm working in a whole different part of the wine spectrum. And so I get to kind of play around and challenge myself to find the, dishes and things that are going to work within that because it's going to be different. Again, of course, everyone with Cabernet, there or just any kind of like heavier red wines, they're like, oh, steak,
yeah,
just beef, short rib, steak, ribeye.
yeah.
Um, but what I was thinking when I took the job, the first thing I was like, I can't wait to do fun things with mushrooms. Because mushrooms as well are just like so, iconically great, like with Cabernet,
Well,
with
yeah.
red wines.
And they
And
have that meaty character like
Mhm.
meat without sort of defaulting to meat.
Right. And then there's so many different things that you can do with them.
Yeah,
So I was super excited just in general, and that'll continue to be a theme. In fact, I rekindled a relationship that I think used to exist in terms of sourcing with wine forest mushrooms up here in the North Bay, which
yeah.
is now owned by Chef Stefan Terge, who used to be the chef of, now I'm gonna,
Tobacco.
Perbaco, Perbaco and Barbaco.
Yeah.
It's great chatting with him and getting to know what he's doing and stuff like that.
Well,
And
he's a North Bay chef too. Well, he cooks in the city, but he lives in the North Bay, so
yeah, yeah.
I won't give him
Uh,
away.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it was fun because I remember I ordered some, I called them and was like, hi, I'm the new chef at Silver Oak, and I had forgotten that he had moved up here and taken over Wine Forest. Um, and so I was like, started the job. I'm like calling all these people, trying to get all these vendor relationships set up or
Yeah.
rekindle them if they were existed before. And so I totally spaced that he was now running Wine Forest. And the next day he just like walks into the kitchen and I was like, hey chef, how's it going? And he
That's
was
so
like,
awesome.
he was like, so this is interesting. I was very entertained to get that call because it was before the announcement had been made. I was still just like figuring stuff out.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it was, it's great. And, he's awesome and the products that they have are wonderful.
yeah,
So, I'm super excited to be doing stuff with the mushrooms, the black garlic. I mean, that broth is really fun. I love the balance that it has because and the way it works with the wine because it's like earthy, sweet, and bitter
yeah,
working together. So you've got this earthiness of the red miso and the dried shiitake mushrooms.
yeah.
And then you've got the sweetness of the black garlic. And then we do this charred allium. So we burn the leek
Hmm.
and add that kind of bitter onion flavor to it. And it's just this wonderful balance. I mean, so many guests have been like, oh my God, I want to like drink the broth.
Yeah, exactly. Like put that in a container and sell it in the shop there
Yeah,
alongside
yeah.
the
And then
spices.
also the dumplings themselves have been something that's been really interesting in terms of the customers and the people coming through where they're like, oh, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
I had a group that were some folks that were Japanese the other day, and they're like, oh, where are the chopsticks? And I was like, we can get them if you want. Um, but we also just started this dumpling class, and it's been like really popular.
Yeah.
We're like sold out through March, so we're doing this Airbnb experience with where it's a dumpling class. So in the kitchen at Silver Oak, we're doing one this Sunday, and it's a maximum of 8 people because it's only how many people can fit in there.
Yep.
And I teach people how to make 3 different dumplings and then they get to sit down and do a wine tasting, and then we bring out their dumplings for them to eat. Um, And we make sure that they get their dumplings, like not just like the class's dumplings, but like, Christine gets Christine's dumplings,
Yeah.
Priti gets Priti's dumplings. And it's a super fun experience. Well, we did the first one last month and people had a great time. And it's just a really like it's a nice intimate kind of experience because it's just a small group.
Yeah, it sounds
And
amazing.
people are learning, as you were saying about like Asian cuisine in Napa,
Yeah.
like people are just seem really excited to be having different types of experiences
Hmm.
with the Napa wines and especially Silver Oak because I think it's just like an iconic
Absolutely.
winery that it's like exciting for people to like come back and experience something new with the wines that they know and love.
So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing. We're heading into 2026 as we record
Yeah.
this. What's coming up for the winery? How are you shaking up the menus? What other classes are you doing? That kind of thing.
Well, we are definitely going to be doing probably working with Dungeness crab is coming up. Probably some more beets and root vegetables like that. Working on a lamb dish, most likely. It's one of my favorites to work with. And we have some fun dinners coming up. We have release day on February 7th.
Hmm.
And I can tell you because this is going to come out later.
Yeah.
Um, Chef Kim Alter, who was at the dinner, as well as Chef Dominica Rice Cisneros, are both going to be coming up here and doing bites
Hmm.
for
From
release
San
day.
Francisco's Nightbird.
Yeah, Nightbird,
Yep.
San Francisco Nightbird, and Bombera in Oakland.
Yeah.
And so alongside of myself, the two of them are also going to be doing bites at release day, which will be
Yep.
really fun. And then we're going to be doing a few chef collab dinners throughout the year. The first one is March 7th up at Alexander Valley.
Hmm.
And we haven't confirmed the chef who I'm going to be collaborating with, but most likely it's going to be a dinner that will be all South Asian, so all Indian. We like to keep chef's table kind of a little bit, dabbling in a lot of different cuisines.
Hmm.
But this dinner will be one that'll just be like all Indian, and I'll be working with another Indian chef and pairing it all with the wines.
That sounds
Uh,
amazing.
those few things are coming up,
Yeah.
um, as well as the dumpling class that'll be continuing through the rest of the year. So I think soon they'll be putting up more dates, but I think they only have them up through April right now.
Terrific. Well, I'm not expecting this to post until the beginning, either late this year or early next
Uh,
year, so the timing will be very good for that.
Great. And then also, we're working on developing a cheese program.
Ooh.
It may involve a cart, but I can't give you too many details, but I will say I have been eating a lot of cheese with a lot of wine. I know it's a really rough life I
It
have
is a rough
here.
life.
But it is kind of overwhelming at times because I'll have like a board with at one point I had like two boards with like I don't even know like more than 30 cheeses and I've got four different wines and I'm just like going like down the line. I'm just like, oh, I can't eat any more cheese. Like I can't like,
I gotta stop.
you start to get palate fatigue as well. So then your decision making gets a little skewed. So you have to like be like, you know what? I don't know. I got to come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're working on kind of developing a deeper cheese and wine pairing
Hmm.
program that'll be probably an experience that people will be able to sign up for on Talk. And it'll come with all different kinds of fun accoutrements in terms of breads and crackers and
Yeah.
preserves and jams and different things like that that go with the cheeses. So
Well,
mostly all local, but more than anything, the most important thing to me is that they go with the wines.
absolutely. I mean, you are at Silver Oak, so it better work with the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like I said, that's kind of the fun part for me. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, like, I sometimes I honestly have a hard time with a blank page.
I don't believe
So I like a little like give me something new because I feel like I feel like part of it is like I'm not necessarily a one trick pony, right? Like I could do a lot of different things. So it's like, okay, give me some like parameters to work with. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, I got this idea and this idea and this idea. But if it's just like just do whatever, I'm like, I don't
Well, I think,
know. What do you
that's sort of
want?
the struggle with creativity. Like I, as a writer, I like parameters. I like a deadline. I
Hmm.
really like a deadline.
Yes, I need
Because you
deadline.
can just keep going and going and going and noodling and noodling and noodling, and you're like, no, 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 give me that deadline.
Yeah.
And with that, I think this is where we should call it because we all have other things we need to do with our day. But I want to thank you so much, Preeti, for being on my podcast. And I look forward to tasting more of your work. I'm going to stop the recording now and we can keep chatting.